The Swan Valley has been growing and making wine for nearly 200 years, and we have a warm Mediterranean climate tempered by afternoon sea breezes, and it's created lots of opportunities for a diversity of varieties and wine styles to be grown in the valley.
One of our missions is to keep these wonderful old vine parcels intact and in the ground and make the best wines that we possibly can out of them.
In 1827, Stirling arrived. They explored up the river and they came a lot further up than any other European explorers to that date. What they found was this magnificent soil, lush, rich woodlands, and they thought this is a magnificent site. So people started to settle from that point on, and the first thing they wanted to do was feed themselves.
It goes back to 1829 when Olive Farm Wines was established by English botanist Thomas Waters. He grew vine cuttings that he brought from South Africa and started making wine and bartering with local shopkeepers.
Things went quite slowly, and after the First World War there was a real influx, particularly Croatian migrants, and there was a lot of subdivision of land. These people wanted to own small farms, and they planted vines among other things, and some of them were very successful. They had a background in growing grapes and making wine. So we have families like the Jurisiches and the Kozoviches, and a little bit later the Talianiches, who set up vineyards. And the whole of the Swan Valley from the 1920s onwards started to be vines and orchards.
From where they came from, I mean, the wine industry was a big thing. So they knew about growing grapes and selling wine, and they were able to do it here and sort of turn their little properties into little businesses.
The Mann family were very influential. George Mann and his son Jack Mann, who did something like 70 vintages between them at Horton and really put the Swan Valley on the map.
1937, the white made from the variety Chenin Blanc got particularly high mentions in the Melbourne show from the judge at the time, and he said it was the most beautiful white wine. It reminded him of the best white Burgundy styles he'd seen from France, and that's the reason that my father started calling that wine Horton White Burgundy.
The thing is, the valley is old, but it's not old-fashioned. It's always been cutting edge because we've had to be. Like, we are the cradle of viticulture in WA. We started it, and everybody else followed. So we had to make it up back then, and we're still making it up. And people are still looking to the valley to see what we're making.
I think it's a very dynamic, innovative environment for the winemakers here. And it's nothing better than having that background of knowing what works well, but also seeking new things, seeing what else we can do and add on to that.
Funny thing is, for 100 years there's been new winemakers coming through the valley. We're doing new things all the time. And the stuff that we're doing now with barrel fermented Shannon and trialling new varieties is, again, innovative, and it always has been.
In fact, as winemakers, our most important goal, I know for me, is to make sure the final product is a true expression of your fruit and a true expression of your vineyard. That's what exists in the valley, where individual winemakers are bringing the best out of the region. That becomes really special.